In our last video, we showed you how 3D printing works. We took a 3D model file, we gave it to the printer, we selected that in a printer, and we printed different objects last time. So you saw that we needed a file, a 3D model file for the printer to print. But how is that 3D model file made? What is 3D modeling? That's what we are going to talk about today. And I have with us Leo. Leo specializes in 3D modeling and 3D printing, and he is going to show us different kinds of 3D modeling softwares and how they are used. So the first thing that we are going to see is, what if I have to model a simple cube? A simple cube. How do we model a simple cube? Leo is going to show us how, using a CAD software, we are going to be able to model a simple cube.
In order to create a 3D cube on a CAD modeling program, it is important to design a sketch at the very beginning. A sketch is a basic outline of what the model is going to look like. In this planification stage, it is important to establish the dimensions of the length and the width. Notice how I'm using 3 inches for each dimension. The last step requires you to extrude the sketch to truly make this a 3D object, also by 3 inches, and the result is a cube.
So now that we have learned how to do a simple cube, now we are going to talk about what are the different types of modeling. So far, what you saw today in building a cube, it was quite simple to do, but we used measurements to make sure that our cube is exactly the way we want it. So that kind of a modeling is called parametric modeling, because we are using parameters to define the width and height and so forth. So obviously the appropriate name for it is parametric modeling. But there is another kind of modeling in which there are no dimensions used. It's like making something out of clay. So if we give a clay artist some clay, he or she is going to be able to make it into different shapes. And it is the artistic vision which is going to define the dimension of different things. And there is not a set dimension. That can also be done in 3D modeling. That kind of modeling is called polygonal modeling. So Leo is going to show us how polygonal modeling works.
To create an ice cream model on a polygonal modeling program, a unique approach is necessary. The irregular shape of an ice cream ball can be easily modeled by pushing and pulling random areas of its surface. Smoothing operations bring this model to the next level. Time can be saved by duplicating the initial ice cream ball and changing the size and the rotation of the copies. This sculpting technique gives us very convincing results.
Now that you have understood two different kinds of modeling, parametric modeling and polygonal modeling both, you must be wondering why polygonal modeling is used. Obviously, if you can draw any kind of a shape that you want, any kind of a 3D object you want, polygonal modeling is used in movie making. If there are movie characters like Moana and others, they are made using polygonal modeling. Same thing, your video game characters, they are made using polygonal modeling. So the polygonal modeling is as important as parametric modeling. But why is the parametric modeling used? If you have to design a car or a jet, every single part in there would be done using parametric modeling, because it needs to have exact dimensions and precise fit. So say for example, if I had to make a mount for a motor that I'm going to install on a robot, I would not use polygonal modeling. We will use parametric modeling. In fact, we will even first model the motor so that we have it available in our CAD program, and then we will model the mount. Once we have both modeled, then we will check the fitting, whether the holes align or the motor fits right in the mount. That can be done in the model itself, in the CAD software itself. So that's called fitting. So that's done using parametric modeling.
That is correct, Vishal. You need to use parametric if you need a precise measurement in mind. Polygonal modeling, on the other hand, also uses measurements, but they are not the priority. In fact, since you have an artistic vision when you use polygonal modeling, you might think of it as improvisational. In some instances, it can get improvisational because it's supposed to stay in the digital world. It's not those characters in movies, in CGI movies, computer-generated imagery are supposed to stay in the virtual realm, right? So that's why you first need to know exactly what are you trying to model to distinguish what kind of program to use.
So 3D modeling is very important, whether you're making a movie or whether you're making a jet or whether you're making a simple nut and a bolt. Everything you need 3D modeling.
There are certain requirements to make a model 3D printer friendly, which can be discussed in another instance, but it is important to have your model prepared. And this requires the printers and the software's effort as well as your effort. You should be you should judge for yourself if the model can be actually printed. First of all, it has to be watertight, waterproof. It has to be waterproof, no holes in the model. That's the first thing you need to take care of. If your model is solid, then you won't have any 3D printing problems.
Now that you have modeled something, you must be wondering how does it translate from being a model on a computer to something that's now printable, that can be printed. The first thing in the model is sometimes the 3D CAD software itself will slice it for you. What does slicing mean? In the last video we saw that 3D printer makes a three-dimensional object by printing things layer by layer, layer by layer. The printer needs to know what needs to be printed in each layer. That's not done by the printer. That's done beforehand by a slicing software. Sometimes the slicing software is part of the modeling software, sometimes it's different. The most common slicing software that people use is called Cora. So what it does is, say for example, if this kind of an object needed to be modeled and then was needed to be printed, once the model is done, the slicing software is going to break it down into separate slices. And then the 3D printer can easily identify what it needs to print in each slice, and then basically in each run, like in each layer, and then over time, once it prints all the slices, which means all the layers, we have our three-dimensional object. Now that we have understood how the 3D modeling and 3D printing process works, many of you might be wondering, how do I get started? What are the different softwares that are used? To begin with, we're going to start giving you some options for beginner level 3D CAD softwares. One of the ones that we like, which is great for beginners, is called Tinkercad, Tinkercad, and it's a website, it's cloud-based, you don't even need to install anything. It can run on any kind of a computer as long as it has a browser. You go to www.tinkercad.com, create an account, you log in, it's very user-friendly. The menu options are very simple because it's meant for people to start with 3D modeling, right? So there are some other ones which are also simple ones like the Google SketchUp, but then there are advanced ones, and Leo's going to talk about those.
Yeah, some of the advanced ones can be intimidating for beginners because of how many choices you get to see on the interface, so many buttons, so many tabs, so many windows to specify what you want the tools to do. Some of them are, some of these programs are Autodesk Maya, which is great for animators and people who want to get involved with video game making. Some other programs are Blender. Blender is great for people who want to try an open source modeling software. Blender does everything. It does modeling, it does animation. It's just like Maya, but free, essentially. There's also Pixologic ZBrush, which is great for sculpting. If you like traditional fine art, you might like ZBrush because it's like sculpting with digital clay, especially if you use a Wacom or a stylus and a tablet. If you do that, then you have no problems getting used to that sculpting process. There's also some parametric modeling programs that are more advanced, such as Autodesk Inventor and Onshape. What's great about Onshape, it's free to use. It's also web based and cloud based, so you don't have to install it like you previously said with Tinkercad.
Leo mentioned that you can sculpt in 3D model, just like how a sculptor uses clay to make it into different objects. Same way you can use a mouse. You can click and you can just drag a shape and a drag, or push something. So that's done using a mouse. But the same thing can be done with a lot more dexterity. If you had a pen and a pad, those kinds of pens and pads are available in the market. That's one of the ones is called Wacom. That's the one Leo mentioned. If you get into professional level 3D modeling, those kind of pens and pads called the Wacom tablet or any others which are similar of different brands would be a good investment.
In fact, some two-in-one desktop computers have a touchscreen capability, so you can also 3D model using touchscreen on the surface of your monitor. But nothing, in my opinion, nothing beats a good old traditional mouse to get started with. And that's what this is all about. Please do not spend more than $100 on fancy equipment and fancy programs that you're not 100% sure if you're going to use. Start with something that's free, start with something that is available for beginners, and then formulate your own opinions based on how you feel once you try it for the first time.
Hope you liked our conversation about 3D modeling today. We had a conversation about 3D printing. This was a quick overview of 3D modeling. Give us your comments, suggestions, and what direction would you like us to take these 3D modeling videos. We are eager to hear your feedback. Thank you very much.
Thank
Hope
you.
You like this video.